Matt Ducey.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's a pleasure and an honour to rise in support of the Wildlife Powers Amendment Bill in its second reading. Can I acknowledge the Honourable Maggie Barry, our Minister, for all the great work she does and the ambitious work she and the Government does in ensuring we protect our wildlife. We know that with New Zealand's culture and economy, our wildlife and our environment are a key part of that, and it's something that we should always be looking to protect. And it's great to see that this national government, with its blue-green initiatives, is the party that is very much looking to protect our environment and protect our wildlife. And a lot of constituents in my electorate say to me, why does the Green Party always default to sort of far-left socialist policies? Why don't they get back to talking about the environment? Well, I suppose we've probably taken that space of talking about the environment, championing the environment and championing the wildlife. I mean, when you look at the great wildlife we have, whether it be our kiwi, our tuatara, I'm a big fan, being from Canterbury, of course, of our cheeky kia. It's a great bird, but some of the benefits of being an open country and connecting to a globalised world actually comes with some risks and some threats. We know in the days of internet, as well as more accessible airline travel, that poses some risks to people who might choose to shop online for some of our wildlife or come over here to smuggle some of our wildlife back to another country. So it's quite right that we're taking a very keen interest in this space, and quite right that we've actually listened to DOC staff. So this bill is actually based on the feedback from DOC staff, and it's great that the government is looking to empower them further to achieve their job. So their feedback was that they were not being able to seize devices storing evidence such as cameras and phones. They were having a bigger issue around people providing false names and addresses and not being able to ask them to provide some proof of ID, and an inability to stop people for a reasonable period of time. So that's what this bill seeks to address, Mr Speaker, and I feel after going through the Select Committee process we've gone some way in achieving that outcome. The bill comes back from the Select Committee in pretty good shape. It's gone through the submission process. I think we had 7 submissions overall. Every submission was favourable to the intent of the bill and supported it. Although there was some concerns, we've looked at them and pretty much looked at making them into the amendments. And some of the amendments I'd like to talk about today in the second reading, Mr Speaker. The first one is around section 39A. There was a lot of discussion around the extending the powers of rangers to seize evidential material. And I suppose we should always ensure when we give people those powers to seize items that it's always proportionate and reasonable. And I feel where the section 39A has landed, it comes back into the House for its second reading and it clarifies this to be proportionate and reasonable. Section 39B amends powers to stop when investigating suspected offence. And very much when we were looking at this, we wondered if we should be putting something around a time frame for stopping someone. We found that couldn't be defined, but what this amendment does for 39B, it comes back in clarifying that this section doesn't intend to give the power to physically stop. So it's not the physicality of stopping someone, but more just to direct or require them. Section 39C, Mr Speaker, looks to give reasonable ground for a person committing or about to commit an offence for the necessary person to prevent or stop the offender. There was a lot of discussion at the Select Committee stage about what are we doing here? Are we actually going to be giving a new power to give people the right to go into private property? It was something that we were a bit concerned about, but our amendment clarifies that it doesn't give the person or arranger, in this case, the right to go onto private property. And just finally, Mr Speaker, around section 39D, what we're looking for is around clarity of arrest. Are we saying it gives all professionals, in this case, the ability to arrest, or rather just detain someone for a constable to arrive and arrest the detained person? Where we've landed for this, it just clarifies around the ability for the arranger to have those powers as well. So overall, a pretty good bill that's coming back in good shape from the Select Committee process, Mr Speaker, and I commend it to the House.
Members, this debate is concluded. The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Wildlife Powers Amendment Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. Call on Government Order of the Day number